So sweet. All right, let's get started. I want to keep you here about 30 minutes. I know you guys are busy and it's in the middle of the day. I toyed with doing this at night, but then I'm like, I'm there's a lot going on, right, with everybody, and I want you to be able to go home and have family time. Um, but what I want is for this 30 minutes or so, I want you to be able to walk away with the exact steps you need to consistently recruit a higher quality of athlete while running your program more efficiently. Uh, I find a lot of coaches were losing recruits, not because of your story, your facilities, or, all those things. We are losing kids due to self-inflicted wounds. We are unintentionally sabotaging our efforts because we're not being consistent, right? And if you don't think that being inconsistent is having a negative effect on your recruiting, we're wrong, right? And we need to get this sorted out. So in my work, so those of you that I don't know, there's a few of you that I don't know that are on this webinar. I've been a college soccer coach for 23 years. I have been Dan Tudor's recruiting coordinator, and I kind of stopped coaching once COVID hit. It was just too hard with my kids. My kids were getting older, and it was hard to do both with my husband also coaching. So I have been working with Dan Tudor and running my company, Busy Coach, but I'm Dan Tudor's national recruiting coordinator. So I get access to thousands of student athletes and I hear from them, what is it? What are the things that coaches are doing that are causing you to lose interest in them? This is a slide that I typically show when I'm doing a workshop on a campus. But one of the things is inconsistency, right? We hear all the time, 8 out of 10 kids tell us inconsistent communication is why they lose interest in a program. An inconsistent might mean, Monday you're sending something one week, it's Wednesday the week after, it's Friday morning the next week, and then, it's just a hot mess. And if the kids don't know when you're reaching out to them, right, it can cause them to lose interest in you. I find when we're inconsistent, what do these kids want these days? They want love. They need love from you. And when you are not engaging with them consistently, we're not building trust, right? And without trust, these athletes are less likely to commit to your program, no matter how great your win-loss record, your culture, and any of that stuff might be. Okay. Some of our lack of consistency, what it's causing is it's causing us to lose momentum after the initial contact. They're excited to hear from you right away. They're excited after they came on a visit. And if there are weeks and weeks that go without them hearing from us, what do? They lose interest. They start looking other places, So we need a follow-up plan. We need to build momentum and get that excitement and then keep it going, because they can sense from you when you are dropping the ball, and it's just obviously sends the wrong message about, your level of interest in them in your program. So consistency provides proof that you want them. If you really wanted them, right, in the psychology of these teenagers, you would be contacting them consistently. At least that's what we hear all the time. Recruits are thinking, and so this is such a critical factor in the recruit's overall decision making process, because when you agree, they're always judging you. They're judging you and your process and how easy you are to work with and the amount of love you're showing. So again, that's what this webinar is for, to help eliminate maybe some of these self-inflicted wounds that we are, just because we can't stay consistent with things. Is let's establish a few things. So I want you to go a lot of you that are on this webinar, again, probably 50, 60 people registered for this webinar. My guess is that you are about here. We're random. We show up on the day,
right, but
screen,
I'm going home,
wondering
so
what
if you
we
need something,
should
let me know.
be
All right.
saying to recruits, right? Random. The goal, again, how do we make you more consistent? I'm going to show you these 3 different ways today, coming up with a game plan, daily execution. Because as coaches, we could have the best strategies on the planet and the best facilities and the best budget and the best everything. But if we can't execute the plan, we're not going to get the kids. Okay. And then just how to simplify and create better systems for how to do things. Because there's so many things, coach, we do every day that's repeatable task. I don't want you to recreate the wheel and, again, to go from random to being more consistent. There's just different ways we need to set things up. The ways that I'm going to suggest you do these things, some of you I know, are clients, you've worked with me for a while. So some of it might not be new to you, but this might be new. And I'm telling you that this is how my career simplified things, decreased my stress, actually decreased the amount of hours I needed to work, helped me work at a higher level. It helped me onboard assistants faster. There's so many things that these things that I'm going to suggest to you will do for you. I'm telling you, this takes a little bit of work to put this together up front. And that's where I'm here. If you don't mind, I'm going to share with you at the end a couple different resources that if you're looking for a little bit extra help to actually put these things together, there's different resources I can put together for you. And the male ladies here, so the dogs are barking, of course, is just different things, that we'll go through today. But first, let's talk about setting up a consistent game plan to recruit, right? First thing, this is a map of Yellowstone. You would never go into a massive park like this without a map. You want to know where you're starting. You want to know where you're finishing. Where is the end point, right? How do I get back to my car? And all the mile markers in between. So if we get off track, we can quickly get back on track. I find coaches lack consistency, not because, you don't have, a great strategy and a plan in place. It's just we forget where we're going. We look at our phones more than we look and establish and connect with our recruiting goals. So what I want you to do is I want you to create a recruiting calendar. I call it a battle board, and I stole that from Brendan Burchard, right? It's just mapping out a year, including key dates, right? What are all the things? What are the goals? What are the metrics we're trying to hit? But this is something I want you to, as you're establishing this, is and this isn't something that's little on your phone. This isn't a post-it note. This is like a board that every time you walk into the office, a simple little practice is usually, I find, how you start the day determines how the entire day goes. When you walk into your office, do you have a board that tells you what are the goals, what are all the things that we're trying to accomplish month by month? When is the end, and fill in all the important things that you need to be doing. Look at it every single day. Most coaches don't look at it, so we just forget. It's not that we're, not interested in recruiting. We just forget and we get pulled in a million different directions. So the simple thing of big picture goals, so everybody on your staff or just you remember what is the outcome we're after today or this month that are going to help us create movement. Because if there's no movement, right, there's no recruiting. So we got to keep showing up and you got to keep reminding yourself, right, and emotionally engage with what is the goal that I'm after. It's going to help keep you on track and keep the main things, and keep going in the right direction, doing the right things at the right time can help. One of the things, do you have set aside, as we're coming up with a game plan, we all know with our teams, we might have, we have the plan, we set up the practices, we work on all the things, and then we play. And then what do? Once a game has been played, we watch the video. Why do we watch video? Is we're evaluating and assessing key things to make sure we got the right people in the right place and we're doing the right things. Do you have, in an effort to stay consistent, do you have consistent checkpoints that you're implementing to evaluate key recruiting activities throughout the year? It's like watching your game film, right? This is your recruiting game film. Once a month, This meeting can serve you like nothing else you're doing. It is a way for you to just, what are we doing? What was the outcome we were after? Did we hit our outcomes? If we didn't, again, what are we doing? And based on our to-do lists, what do we start doing, stop doing, continue do more of, do less of? These 5 questions are game film. These 5 questions will help you course correct faster and just keep you on course to things, to hit your goals faster, stay top of mind with top recruits. It's hard to do if we're getting pulled in a million different directions, right? Evaluation periods are helpful. Do you have, so any of you, those of you guys that are Dan Tutor followers, right? It's established timelines. It's established the consistent communication every 6 to 9 days. This generation, right? They're always measuring you by how often you contact them. Okay. And so what I want you to do, what do most coaches do? We start strong at the beginning because there's a lot of things to talk about. But then we kind of fizzle out a little bit because we already told them everything. So now we just become the check-in coaches. What I want you to think about doing is, how long is your recruiting process from start to finish? How many months does that give you? And can you, month by month, the thing I want you to do, I have never seen a coach build a program on randomness and just randomly showing up every single day and trying to figure out what to send to a kid. I want you to schedule it, decide, making this decision in advance before the start of the next month. And this, I would start with your best recruits. What, with your best recruits, can you manage to send? How many emails? How many text messages? How many phone calls? How many letters, right? How many? Decide. And then decide when it's going to go out, right? So the way that I established consistency, I was all over the map with recruiting. I started to pay attention to newsletters. Dan Tutor's newsletter comes out every Tuesday in the morning. My productivity Busy Coach newsletter comes out Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern every week. Because it's consistent, it increases the open rates. So with you and your recruits, do you have an established month by month, communication plan? Decide what you're going to send in advance, create it in advance, and then we automate it. Okay. We can schedule it to go out. So that is a way to take the load off of you, create more consistent touch points, but decide day and time. Because this is also something you can do. I said Tuesday at 4:00, I'm going to send you an email. I didn't say it was automated, but I'm going to send you an email. And then I would tell these recruits Wednesday at noon, I'm going to send you a text. So not only, because I committed to those things, I set the expectation with my recruits as this is when it's coming. What it did is now I had to organize all of my things around making sure that this happened, because I wanted to be a coach who was congruent and did what I said I was going to do. But this, committing to a day and a time, helped massively establish my consistency, but it also increased my open rates. It got me no's from recruits faster because it got commitments from it. This set me up when I set expectations. It set these recruits up to increase the probability of them doing everything I needed them to do after that conversation where I established what I was going to do. You know what I'm saying? It's just a way to establish consistency. You got to decide, commit to a day and a time based on all the things that you want to do. It will help. And then communicate it to recruits. What is going to be sent? We got to create it in advance. Okay. Again, it's too hard with all the things you got going on throughout the course of the day to sit down on the day and figure out what to send. Okay. I also found that, and this is the Dan Tutor method, is same topic with everybody. It is too hard to stay consistent when you're having different conversations with everybody. Simplify. Each month, pick one topic and stick with that topic with everybody. And as a staff, the thing that we did is we use the same email with everybody. So our follow-up was easier because we were asking everybody the same questions. So we could just quickly crank out a lot of things, which trimmed a lot of time it took us to stay on top of recruiting emails. But also as a staff, we decided, we were going to email Tuesday, text on Wednesday. Every text message was a question, and it was the same question across the board with every recruit, no matter how long we've been recruiting them. Simplified what we were talking about. It increased the speed and the quality of our responses because everybody was asking, we were asking the same things. But also as a staff, how do you compare and contrast recruits if you're all talking about different things at different times? So this was a way, and I was a Dan Tutor client. I literally would send the email that he had created for me on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, I just sent a text message talking point that he sent to me every single month. And it was just a question to get them talking. These were conversation starters. It just got them to open up. Because I was consistently showing up, they started trusting me more. They started sharing new and better information with me, which cleared the path and opened the door to let me know exactly what I needed to do to recruit the kid, which made recruiting easier and faster and stayed front and center with these best recruits, right? The other thing, thinking big picture, recruiting plan, it's really hard to stay consistent if everything is in your head. Do you have a list of all of the recruiting activities that you need to be doing throughout the course of the year? This is a master list. I will send you, those of you that are registered for this webinar, I will send this to you if you don't have it already. But all of the things, get them out of your head. These are things, if you want your staff to be 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of you, how are they going to do it unless you tell them what to do? Get everything out of your head onto paper. So people are clear as to who is responsible for what. They know what to do and when to do it. You see, so this is a recruiting master list. There's a daily operations, right? All the things you have to do. You could transfer the tasks, copy the tasks into the month that you're doing it. It's just a way as a staff to stay consistent because everything is here and tells you what to do. You need to do that month to hit the outcomes that you're after. A way to stay on track. Master list, right? Another thing is, so big picture, look at your plan every single day. Look at it. Have everything mapped out in a master, right, to-do list so everybody knows what to do and when to do it so we can get ahead of things. It's going to free up time. It's going to allow you to stay more consistent with all the things you're doing. Second, daily. Okay, so we got the big picture plan. We got to show up and execute every single day. I want you to think, I don't know if you've ever determined what your critical actions are. Critical actions, when you've decided what these are, can have a massive impact into building the habits you need to consistently move the mission forward, the recruiting forward, right? Creating habits. What I want you to do is, so here are some of mine. One of the things was a daily habit, was critical to keeping on track and consistent with recruiting. Look at our schedule and review it every morning. Again, we spent like a couple minutes. It wasn't like hours and hours. It was a few minutes looking at the battle board. But even I would say the night before, we had determined what do we have going on during the day? When does it make sense for me to block off time to recruit? You got to schedule it. I find in all my work with the Dan Tutor stuff that I do, a lot of coaches aren't reaching the recruiting goals just because they're not spending enough time on it, right? But a lot of things come up throughout the course of the day. You got to block it off. Just like practice. Does anything move practice? Usually not, right? You don't get distracted. You don't have your phone. You don't do multitasking maniac during practice. You start with the plan. You set the priorities. You organize things based on the energy and the focus that you need from your recruits or from your team, right? During practice, you take breaks, right? And you usually work in order of importance from the most important down, right? Throughout the course of training. You've got time limits and blocks of time you're doing things. I want you to schedule your recruiting just like you do practice. So look at your calendar, and when are all the immovable things, when you have practice, when you have meetings, when you have weights, all those things, what other time during the day makes sense for you to block off where all you're doing is recruiting, when your energy is good, your focus is good, and you get the fewest interruptions. I'm telling you, this is a way to use the time you have, right? I can't give you more time. I'm trying to get you to think more strategically about how to show up with more intention every single day. And I get, some of you might be saying right now, oh, but Mandy, we gotta be there for our team, and our team needs, they need to have access to us. Recruit it, right? I really truly believe the length and the success of your career is dependent on your ability to recruit quality student athletes. We need to block off that time, and nothing interrupts us during that time. It's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, right? Your team will survive, without 2 hours access to you. You know what I'm saying? We got to create movement, schedule. That was a critical action for us every single day. I decided the night before what I was going to work on first with my recruiting. I had blocked off the time, right? And because I went to bed knowing exactly what I was going to do the next morning, I went to bed with a plan. I woke up with a purpose. I was motivated. I started with that first, cranked it out. It's a future building, success building habit, critical to your actions. We had, when I had a staff, stand-up meeting every single day, critical. First thing, what am I working on? What are my priorities today? What are the metrics I'm trying to hit, and what are the problems I see going to happen? Every single day as a staff, we did this. And we did it as a stand-up meeting, not sit down, don't get comfy. Because when you get comfy, then you'll chit chat. Oh, we got all the time in the world to do all the things. No, you don't, right? Again, I want focused time. And you, if you're the head coach here, listening to this is a way for you to not micromanage, but check in to make sure that your assistants are doing the right things at the right time, right? And so stand-up meeting, that was critical. Action. I sent one email to connect every single morning. Before I opened up my inbox, who can I connect with today? And I decided it the day before, the week before, who can I connect with to build? I hope you would all agree, right? Referrals are the easiest way to get recruits. Who can I connect with to build some sort of, thank you for doing this, or it was nice meeting you at that. Hey, I watched your team play. Oh my gosh, it really, blah, yada, yada, whatever the things are. One email every single day. Did it, amount to massive things instantly? No. But over the course of time, I found that consistent reach out email slowly but surely built my network of coaches. I got referrals easier. I got more opportunities for coaching faster, smoother. One consistent email every day. Critical action, right? Tracking was a critical action. Since I had maintained consistent, this is what I'm going to send, and everybody got the same email for the most part that month. Everybody got the same text that week for the most part. I tracked responses. Okay, so from our top recruits, and we had pictures. So these are the pictures when we got to Youngstown, one of our first recruiting classes. This girl, this girl, this girl, this girl. So I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of these 8 are still, well, 2 of them are still there. They're taking their 5th year. Couple tore their ACLs, right? 3 of them tore their ACLs, but they came. We kept critical action looking at your recruiting list every single day. That's where I always joke with people, like, I suck at database stuff. I hated the database stuff. I had to have things out in front of me to maintain my consistency and keep showing the love to all my best recruits. I had to have them somewhere where I saw them. That was critical for us. I tracked responses. So I knew Tuesday at 4, I'm sending an email. I started to track how long it took for that recruit to respond, the best ones that I was after. How long it took them to respond to text, how long it took them to respond to, phone calls, those kinds of things. It helped keep kids moving along. I also tracked, recruiting is about movement. these kids are always looking to see how serious you are in them. One way you can consistently demonstrate interest in them is next little actions. Those of you that have been a part of Recruiting Made Simple, or you're a Dan Tutor client, you've heard me talk about micro commitments. These are little yeses. How can we get them to do something? Okay, so each interaction that I had with a recruit, this was a critical action for us. Tracking this information. I'd get them on a phone. Hey, I see you haven't followed us on Instagram. Can you do that? They're either going to do that or they're not going to do that. To me, as I started tracking this critical information for us, actions, I could see who was trending towards me, who I was winning with, who I was losing with. So as a staff, we were always able to move kids up, down, and off our list because each interaction, we asked them to do something. Started simple and safe. And just as we went through the process, we could see the patterns. Where were we losing kids? Where were we asking for too much too soon, right? But just actions. We tracked actions and it kept us on track. Each phone call, you know what? The staff, this was if you want this, I will share this as an Excel document. We had it, I believe, as a Google Doc, so everybody had access to it. They could see it, and no matter who was on a call with them, hey, I see, you followed us on Instagram, but I see you haven't sent us your schedule yet. Do you ever find you waste a lot of time, and sometimes phone calls are a drag because you got to go back and reread all the notes and figure out what you've done and haven't done up to that point? It's work up front, but I got commitments faster and it took me less time to find all the things and know what to do next with them because I tracked on a daily basis. And because I had all these names on my list and I kept looking at them, it was easier for me to create more movement. I got no's sooner, right? I got yeses faster, smoother, easier, just by consistently filling out this form, you know? We asked for referrals. Every kid we talk to, do you want to go to school by yourself or you have friends that you want to play with, right? Or coaches, or parents, anybody we could. Who do you know, alumni, who do you know that would be a good fit for what we're trying to do? Made things faster, easier. We asked one fun question at the end of every call, right? So it was one, to build relationships, to make a connection with that recruit so they knew girls on the team also had same kind of interests. But also I wanted to use that information when they came to a visit. We paired them not with similar position or with majors. We paired them with common interests. Campus visits you should schedule your campus visit if you're not already based on feelings and emotions. Put them with kids that have similar interests. It will make them feel more comfortable and excited that they have things in common with kids on the team. Plus, it'll give your kids on the team easier talking points, which will make things go smoother. You know what I'm saying? Critical action. So I'm just trying to trigger some different ideas for you to establish. These were things we did on a daily basis that got us top recruits faster, right? So one of the things I know when I sent out the email to all you guys about setting, to come to this webinar, you might think like, run my program like a franchise. What does that even mean? Think about franchises. Why do they work, right? Why are they able to duplicate and multiply all over the place, right? They've documented what works. They've documented what doesn't work. They know what doesn't work, right? They've streamlined all of the things and they figured out a way to guarantee the consistency from place to place. You as coaches, you have a lot of different components, right? And each of these things, whether you like it or not, you have a process. One, is it documented? Two, is it optimized? Most haven't optimized it. We're just going off the top of our head and everything is random. And that's why we get inconsistent with things, because we're all over the place trying to remember what to do next. This is something that I try to do a lot, so with Busy Coach, I try to isolate the different parts of recruiting, right? Because each one, you have a system for it. And that system that you have set up right now is set up perfectly for the results you're getting. I want coaches to, let's break down each component to it. document it, so then we can evaluate it from a quality perspective. Are we doing things the best way? Do we have the right people doing the things? Are we doing, where could we trim the fat? How could we put everything all in one place? So I always use Lego as the example, right? Lego is, totally geek out on the Lego instruction manuals because it's so simple to follow the instructions, step 1, step 2, step 3. And the picture always looks, the Lego set looks like the picture on the box when you just follow the direction. This is where, do you have something like that set up for how you're doing you're running through your program? Coaches get really inconsistent because, again, just on the day, we're just, oh crap, I forgot I got to do this, or I got to remember to do that, or hey, can you do this? And people are asking you 1,000 questions, and you can't find the documents, and we're all over the map. That's exhausting and that's stressful, and it's why coaches are losing kids, right? Is we're not making the repeatable tasks, things that you do every single year, we're not putting them on automatic pilot. Here's an example of one process you could create. This is something I did. So I talked about a little bit earlier. Create consistency with your communication by creating it in advance. How are you going to do that? Beginning of so it's almost September. It's a holiday weekend. Could you sit down with your staff and follow this process? Create a month's worth of content before the start of the month. Decide what dates you're going to send, who is going to get what's the topic, right? All of these things. We literally, just as a staff, before I paid Dan Tutor to be a client, that was easier, right? It was more expensive, but it was easier. But if you're going to do this on your own, right? We just, as a staff, literally in 1 hour, and we put a clock on 1 hour, we're giving ourselves to map this out, create a month's worth of content, and then schedule it. Done. We didn't have to. Now we created consistent touch points. We're marketing and branding our program. So recruits, every time they open up their inbox, every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, they saw our stuff in there. Coach is doing what she said she was going to do. She still must be interested in me. I'm giving them proof, building trust, right? Creating movement with all these things, but do it in advance, So, there's a lot of other things that go into this, but I wanted to keep you for 30 minutes as best I could. We got to come up with a plan. You got to review the plan, right? These are things. Consistency builds confidence and momentum in your recruiting. These yearly daily plans will help us stay on top of our recruiting efforts. Getting things out of your head onto paper in front of you or on your computer or whatever, just something that you're seeing every single day will help keep the main things, and keep moving, making sure that you're doing the right things at the right time, and everybody on your staff is moving in the right direction, right? And then running your program like a franchise. I know I just went over these things quickly, but I want you to create repeatable systems that work to free up mental energy, free up your time, right? And now you can have anybody on your staff just follow the checklist. So it's going to onboard people faster. It's going to, it's ultimately, how do we do all of the things that we have to do on a repeatable basis, the same way, the best way, every single time, right? So I know I'm going through these things fast. Hopefully, right, this all makes sense. I just know, in all of my years doing this as a coach myself and working with Dan Tutor and managing all his clients, I know that to be true. We can't just hope that we're doing enough. I want you to, I'm all about, and those that work with me directly, or you've had me come to your campus to do a workshop, a lot of people are like, damn, Mandy, that's really aggressive. I want you to go on offense. These things are proactively create these things in advance. And a lot of times you just got to create it once, do it once. And then we put it on autopilot and repeat. And then the only thing we need to do is tweak and optimize. It's impossible to do things on the fly as a college coach. There's just too much stuff to do. We got to create it in advance. And how do we automate it? Through creating processes, self-automation, right? What are the habits? First thing, you walk into the office, check your board. What are we trying to accomplish today? That's a habit. That's self-automation, right? But that's you going on attack, trying to build momentum and keep things on track, right? Going on offense. We want to build momentum. It's hard to build momentum if you're all over the place and random with all the stuff that you're doing. And I get, especially those of you that are in season, there's a reason I'm doing this now, is because I find that all the coaches that we work with that follow my busy coach and me and the stuff we do with Dan Tudor, we lose momentum in the fall because we get busy with our seasons, you know, and that's, I don't want you to lose momentum. You've put all this work into your recruiting up to this point. Keep the momentum going. And this, the thing I find, a lot of coaches, we don't want to get the no because no's are uncomfortable, and I get that. But to me, I want you to see getting a no when you show up consistently and you're telling your story every week, week and a half, asking great questions. I believe the quality of kid you get and the speed that recruiting goes depends on the quality of questions you're asking. When we ask great questions and we're telling our story, we're showing up consistently, you are going to get no faster. But to me, that is a competitive advantage for you. We're getting no's from the people who have already determined you're not a good fit. And that's helpful. Let's get those no's faster, get them off your board so we can maintain the pulse and keep moving and focusing on the kids that really are truly active and engaged with you. But also it can help you identify sooner. We don't have enough kids in our database. So you can go out and find new kids faster where other coaches are hoping they stay on your board because they haven't said no to you yet. You know what I'm saying? Just different things. I mean, the thing I want to share with you, and if you guys have any questions, I will stay on for as long as you want to stay on. But I told you at the beginning, I wanted to share a couple resources. I mean, I'm trying to and I'll keep doing these free webinars, 100% go out and apply it as best you can. Apply it, share it with me. If you want to email me, send me what you're working on. Let's review it. We can set up calls, right? I'll help as best I can. I want to share 2 resources, right? If you want, just to be able to, like a lot of, I mean, you could certainly go to the website, read the blog, listen to the podcast, 100%, right? But this is where sometimes it helps to make things go a little faster when you've got a human person who's already been there, done that, and knows how to do all these things to help you increase your learning curve faster. I run this group. You probably have seen, some of the things about it, but all of these things that I talked about here, this is what we do month after month. We take one of the pieces of the recruiting process and we try to break it down to create the step-by-step that works for you based on the resources and the stuff you have. I provide a lot of templates and checklists and try to automate as best we can. And then there's just support as much as you can. That is an option for those of you, right? If you can go off and do this on your own, 100%. And that's what I tried to do, is present the information so you can go and do it on your own. If you want a little extra help, this is like $225 for a year, right? Not expensive at all for the entire year, right? You can kind of get a lot of the insight month by month with this. And for those of you that want the emails and want us to help you, more in depth, kind of create all your communication package. I know some of you are already clients, but those of you that are not, you want those emails created, you want those talking points given to you, social media topic ideas, and the consulting and extra training, all the stuff. That might be, right, an option for you if you want to look at some of that kind of stuff. But hopefully I gave you some good ideas for things that you can take and go and apply right away. Don't drop the ball during your season. Keep up. Recruits are always looking for tiebreakers, right? Especially in the fall, critical time. Some coaches are going to drop the ball because they get too busy and they don't have things set up and automated, and they're not consistent. They're not committed to being consistent. You showed up for this webinar, you registered for the webinar. Those of you that are going to watch this, get consistent with your things. It will help give you a competitive advantage. Recruits, they're going to evaluate you. They need reasons to eliminate schools. You stay consistent, they'll take you more seriously than those coaches that drop the ball and just kind of fall off because they get busy during their season. You know what I'm saying? Thoughts, questions, takeaways. What do you think? Those of you that are, so there's 21 of you on. What questions do you have, or what takeaways, or what do you want to dive a little deeper into at the end of this call? What do you think?
Yeah, Mandy, I have a question for you. Um, so like I've built like a year-long calendar of like what I'm talking to recruits about, and each week I send out an email. The problem that I am finding that I'm getting stuck on is like say for like August, we're talking about the money piece and the financial side of things, and each email kind of builds on itself because I'm talking about, okay, here's how much it costs the first week. The next week, we're going to talk about a strategy of how can you afford that. And the where I get caught is when a new recruit comes in at like a weird time. It'd be weird to go straight into the strategy of how to afford it if we haven't even talked about how much it is. And so that's where I'm getting caught. And maybe it's actually making more subgroups of like a top 10 and like, I don't know. So what are your thoughts on how I can better be consistent with those new players coming in or new recruits coming in into a cycle?
No, and that's always awkward, right? When you introduce somebody new into, in the middle of the month. Um, so I've done a few things where sometimes it is like even a new kid, I put them in the same month as everybody else. I didn't go back to previous topics because it was just too hard to keep track of. And I found that there's no magic order to the topics. But Kerrigan, what you're talking about is getting them in the middle of the month is, I mean, you certainly could change the wording on that message so it's not, hey, I know I talked about this in the previous email. You could, I've had some coaches, so if you so you sent out this is how much it costs and some of the money stuff in the first email, and then you identify the kid in the second email, or then the second week. I've had coaches in that week send week 1 email on a Monday and then send week 2 email on the Friday. And then third week, they're caught up to where everybody else is. So I've seen and it's not going to be like hundreds of kids. It might just be a few. If it is a massive amount of kids, I would, you could either wait to the beginning of the next month. I've done it where, I had just was out at a tournament and, I'd already like halfway through the month, I sent my first contact the first week. And then I sent a video of the team doing something fun together to build momentum in the second week. And then I started the messaging the next month. So they might have missed the money stuff, but that was something on the first phone call. I tried to identify, what's the plan to pay for school? And then, and then so I altered it from there. There's never a perfect way to do it. It just is, I guess, how many kids are you talking? If there's just a few, you could just double time the messaging at first to get them caught up to where everybody else is that month. And then, keep everybody together month after month. You could delay it for a few weeks and just start them the next month. I mean, what makes sense to be, does that make sense what I said? And where are you thinking you want to go with it?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I think like it might have to be different each time for me, like because there's times where it's like, okay, it's just like one kid, right? And but then there's other times where it's a lot of kids. And so it might have to be I'm catching them up really quick when it's just one or two of them, but then when there's a bunch of them, maybe I'm just delaying them a little bit. And that might have to just fluctuate a little bit, which is fine. But that makes complete sense.
And then, I mean, you could also, I mean, if it, like the message in the week that you're on, it will only make sense if they read the first two. Then I would say, yep, 100%. We need to either catch them up quick or just delay so they're not getting in the middle of that. Or it's, could you change the third message where it is, just kind of summarizing what you might have said in the first two. So, I mean, either way, it's going to be different, but
Yeah.
it's, making it so they don't need to have read the first two messages to understand the third message. I don't know. There's no perfect way to do it, but it's just, depending on how many kids you have and what makes sense for you to do that month and the topic. I mean, there's been topics where I'm like, they don't need to, it would be helpful for them to, get the first two messages, but it's not, super necessary. So I just changed the wording a little bit to making it sound like this was the first message that they were getting from me. So I didn't make reference to the previous two. So that wasn't confusing to them, but I don't know. you just kind of got to play it by ear based on where things are at. But yeah, it's always hard when you're always adding names and taking names off. But it's always just thinking, what is the most simple way to do this? Few, just get them caught up. A lot, I would just delay it to the next month, is what I always did.
Thanks. Appreciate the help.
Karen, it's good, or it's Kerrigan. It's good to see you on a webinar again. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. What else? I mean, that's a great question. Any other questions from you guys?
Hey, Mandy. Thanks again. You guys came to our campus in May. It was great. I was just thinking, like, towards the end of the cycle, like, we're getting to the point where, I think we've done enough that they know about us. We know about them. Like, just kind of last steps. Do you have any, like, kind of recommendations as to, like, I want to call it closing the deal?
So if it's a yes for you and you want the kid, and just what school were you at?
Franklin and Marshall.
Oh yeah. Is I mean, I think asking key questions just to know if this is a kid you should move forward with or not, or ask for a commitment or not. And I forget if we talked about this when I was there, but what else do you have left to do before you're ready to make a decision? And I think it's always fair to ask timeline questions, every month or so, because as they're visiting campuses, their timelines either speed up or they slow down, So at this point, have you had a chance to visit all the campuses you wanted? And has your timeline changed? Because I'm such a big fan of adding social proof to this conversation, in that other kids are, what else do you have left to do? At this point, are we in your top two? Because if you're not in their top two, chances are, it's going to take other things falling through before they decide to come to you. But that's helpful to know before you give them that information. But then I always would say, look, remember, I've told you, this is when the end is. I always start from the beginning, telling them when the end is and do the countdown. That is another consistent action you can take to figure out faster who's more willing to take you up on your offer and who's going to give you a no sooner. But it is, timeline is already, I've got 2 commits and I need like 6 more for this class. I've got about 10 kids coming to visit on a campus visit here soon. I know they're going to be they're wanting to make decisions. I've got 3 other, or whatever the numbers are. You know what I'm saying? Is give them those numbers, because these kids, more than ever, they need to understand that they're not the only kid you're recruiting, and they need to know that this is how many I've got to commit. That's social proof you're giving them. These kids, more than ever, I don't know if you're finding this, but in all the research that I'm doing on this generation of kids, they are more than ever using the opinions of other people to help them decide. So when you are communicating with recruits, we've already got this many commits from these clubs. Tell them, name drop like crazy. This club, right? Hopefully, right? You got top talent from other from these clubs interested in you. That will perk their ears up. That will get them taking you more seriously. But also, we only need this many more. So I've got 3 and I only need 6 more. And I've got, 10 kids coming to visit here shortly. Unless they really suck at math, they're going to be able to see that, look, there are more kids interested than spots available. So you're telling them without telling them. Kids are making decisions, and kids are really interested in coming to play for us here. And the opportunity to be on our team is going away. And so that is something I like doing with the kids as we're coming towards the end, and consistently throughout. That's a conversation I had consistently throughout. I found out quicker who was interested because they started moving faster with us because they didn't want to miss out on the opportunity. Those kids that weren't as interested, they kind of fell off. The other thing I'll say, and I think we talked about this when I was there, is asking when you're ready to ask. what do most coaches do? We offer a spot on the team and then we give them a deadline, or we start talking about how much time they need after. Switch it. Before you, if you're ready to ask these kids for a commitment, ask them first. Tell them you are one of my top in whatever position they play. I'd love to have you on my team. I'd love to talk to you about an offer to come to play for us. But you got to add the but in there. I can't offer you a spot. One of my remaining 6 spots on the team, I can't offer it to you if you need a long, long time to make a decision. Because I've got these other kids waiting in line that want an offer, but I haven't offered them because I want you, you know? And again, the wording of this, you got to make it authentic to you and all the things, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's just something like that is, I would love, you tell me how much time do you need? Because if you can give me an answer in, the next insert, how long, a month, 2 months, whatever you feel is fair, I will offer this spot and this spot will be for you and only you. If you're not ready, that's okay. But you need to know that I'm going to offer this spot to somebody else. And if, assuming you don't lie about it, assuming you've got people lined up behind, right, who you're ready to get an answer from, I got to offer it to somebody else because these kids are coming to visit. They're trying to make decisions and I can't afford to offer this to you and then wait a long, long time. Now, remember I said one of my strategies is to do this. This is it's more direct. It is me going on offense. It is me telling the kid, I've got control of my roster and when kids are making decisions. This is me establishing status. Even though, there's been programs, I've been at some top 10 Division I programs in the country. I've coached at some of those schools, but I've also coached at the bottom, right, in Division I, and we still use the same strategy. These kids needed to know that this class is going to go fast and these roster spots are valuable. And if you're not ready, again, it's okay. We're not putting pressure on you to decide, but you need to know that I've got other kids that I'm going to offer this to. And once the spot's taken and I filled the number of kids, depending on the sport, you might not be able to say that because I know you need maybe a lot of numbers. You know what I'm saying is you could say, I got to offer this to somebody else. And once that spot's gone, it's gone. Or if you have money to offer, I don't have a bottomless pit of money and I'm going to start offering it out now to the kids that are ready to make a decision, because it makes sense, right? To offer it to those kids who are ready to make a decision, because even if they say no, you can move on to the next kid faster, right? And, you still got more time to find and recoup, with other kids. Does that make sense? Joseph, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but does that make sense? And is that helpful to, it's just getting, when you throw that out, you will hear from the kid instantly. Yeah. Let's talk about the offer. Okay. They're interested and they might make a decision faster. Other kids are going to be like, no, I'm not ready. Offer that to the next kid, which to me, right. It kind of sucks to hear that, but it still is helpful to know because that kid is going to take forever to make that decision. It doesn't make sense for me to keep putting time, effort, and love into that kid when they're going to take I'm not going to stop recruiting the kid, but just got to prioritize other ones and move faster on the next group, Joseph, does that answer your question? Does that make sense? Like, is that kind of what you were looking for, or do you have other questions off of that?
Yep. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Appreciate it.
But I would try it and see. Are there kids that you have that you feel ready to have that conversation with?
Yeah. I think our last step is more like getting to know the team side of things. So we have probably 24 coming for officials.
Yep.
And like I feel like I got everything. It's just like their last like little bits of that piece.
So I think I brought this up when I was there. And I'm, take it or leave it. All of you that are on this webinar are going to listen to this webinar. I told the kid before they came, they're coming on an official visit. You're meeting the team. Tell them this is kind of a final piece for me, is I want you to meet the team and hang out with the team and get a feel for the campus. And I said, and I would tell the kids, don't be surprised if this all seems to be going really well. Don't be surprised if I ask you to commit on the visit. I would tell them that before the visit even happened. What I was trying to do is I wanted them to come to campus as a buyer, not a shopper, right? I didn't want them to think, oh, we got all the time in the world and I'm gonna, compare and contrast and all the things. If they're coming as a buyer, they're asking more buying related decisions, right? Should I live in this dorm or live in this dorm? Is this dorm more expensive or is that one? And how does this work? And they just ask different questions and they see the visit differently. Plus two, how many times, if you ask for a commitment at the end of a visit, what do they say? Oh, I gotta talk to my parents. Okay, well, I'm telling you before the visit that don't be surprised if I ask you to commit. So what do? On the way to campus, they're talking about it and they're figuring out what are the things we need to know and do to make sure that this is a good fit for us. They show up differently on campus, right? And then at the end of the visit, I like giving them some time to, go talk with mom and dad and go, off on your own and go spend a lot of money at the bookstore and all that stuff. And then when I met with them, does this feel like a place you could see yourself going to school? And if I had, all the boxes were checked for me and the kid lit up when I asked that question, all right, I got a spot for you, but I need to know how long before you're ready to decide. I'd love to have you on our team, but if you're not ready, like in this next month, I just can't offer it to you. I got to offer it to somebody else because this is going to go fast and there's a lot of kids who are interested and all the things. I got answers on the visit or very shortly after the visit, and it just made things go faster with that conversation. It's direct and it's very much going on the attack, but I got info faster and I got stronger classes sooner, which made my life easier because then I could, take a little break and it wasn't so stressful trying to finish out my class, you know? But try it and see and follow up. Send me an email and let me know, if there's anything else I can do to kind of help.
Will do. Thank you.
What else? What else? Any great questions? Any other questions? Hopefully that's helpful. Anybody else? I have if you're interested, I mean, I'll send you guys these slides so you have them. I'll send you the recording so you have them. Again, not making this into a sales call, but I know it's one thing to hear the information. And I know some of you've heard this information before, but you're not actually doing it yet. If you want help, we're here to help. I will set up a call with you if you want to just go through things. No pressure to be a client at all. But if you want to dig deep into these things and spend a year diving into these things and sorting out your systems and getting everything good to go, I'm here to help through Busy Coach. I'm here to help through the Dan Tutor stuff with both, right? I do both, right? All in an effort to get you the results that you want faster with less stress, less time, right? And to free up your mental and physical and everything to spend more time with your team or go home with your family, happier, healthier coaches. That is the goal with all this stuff, right? Is to get you what you need so you can stay in this profession for a long time or free up time, to spend time in other areas that will help build your program. That's what we're trying to do, help build your program. So if there's anything else I can do to help, you got to let me know. The problem with having a company called Busy Coach is people are like, you're so busy, I don't want to reach out. No, like that was maybe a mistake on my part to name the company this, but I'm trying to help, I'm here to help. So don't be shy about reaching out. Anything we can do to help, just let me know. Sound good? I will let you guys go. Have a great fall. Reach out. I'll send you all these, the follow-up stuff here in a little bit. And yeah, if there's anything else I can do to help, please reach out.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thank you. Oh, you know what? I'm seeing things in the chat. Yep. Perfect. Yep. I will. Here, wait. So how would you sell this whole process to your head coach if it's totally outside your wheelhouse? Yeah. Jeremy, I will reach out. Well, if you're still on, I can answer your question. Sorry, I didn't see this thing was in front of the chat. How would I sell this process to the head coach? I would say, Jeremy, I don't know if you have your master to-do list set up, but I would set one up for what you do as an assistant. And then, I brought up the, run your program like a franchise is setting up your processes. How could you establish what your process is for the roles that you have and the tasks that you're responsible for? I would start documenting it, or, whether it's on paper or creating a video for it, attach it to your master list. And then just, the thing that I've helped a few assistants do is their head coaches start to see that, how are you getting all this done? And why is this, I see you're happier and you're getting these things done and the quality is amazing. What are you doing? Right? Some of those kinds of things, doing it by your actions instead of, sitting down and talking about it. But I think with a head coach, if you can always present it in a way to make it seem like, how is this going to benefit you? And how am I able to take some things off your plate? I've never found a head coach that has, not liked ideas for how you can take, work off of their plate type thing. But, Jeremy, seriously, if we can set up a call and talk more about all of these things. Hopefully that gave you a little idea, right? But Guy, awesome. Oh, so I will let you guys go. I will send this recording out. If you have other questions that you don't want to ask here, just reach out and let me know. Would love to help however I can. Yep. Jeremy, we'll definitely set up an email. So email me at one of these and we'll set up a time to talk. All right, we'll see you guys.